Hey, this is Warren Redlick. One of the things I hear back and push back from people when I'm critical of Lucid Motors is I'm not being fair, or with Rivian as well. I'm not being fair. I should compare them to where Tesla was in 2008 or 2012. So I don't think those are fair comparisons either. 2008, Tesla had not had its IPO or initial public offering yet. It was not a publicly traded company. End of 2012, Tesla was a $4 billion company. So I looked and I found number one, the best comparison, if you're going to look at Tesla, would be 2000, end of 2013, when Tesla's market cap was about $18 billion. Lucid and Rivian both have market caps right now about 15.6 billion. So that point in time, the end of 2013, is a good rough comparison to where Lucid and Rivian are today if we're going to compare them. So I want to compare Lucid with Rivian, with Tesla, and let's see how these companies are looking and what their prospects are for the future. Before we dive into that, check out the Tesla and Air t-shirt and the other t-shirts at elonbits.com. Also the stainless steel water bottles, lots of stuff, elonbits.com. And please support me on the Locals platform on Patreon or as a YouTube channel member. Like this video, share it, subscribe, all that stuff. But let's dive in a little bit more. Are you ready? Let's go. So for starters, we've got Rivian in the left column. We've got Lucid Motors in the center column. We've got Tesla 2013 in the right column. You can see this is actually going to line up pretty well in comparing the companies. So in 2022, Rivian produced 24,000 vehicles. Lucid produced 7,000 vehicles. We don't have a production number for Tesla. We have delivery numbers for all three. Rivian delivered 20,000 vehicles. Lucid delivered 4,300 vehicles. And Tesla delivered 22,000 vehicles. So you can see they're roughly comparable, especially Rivian and Tesla. They're roughly comparable in terms of deliveries, about 20,000 for both of these. Their guidance for the following year, for 2023, Rivian is guiding to deliver 50,000 vehicles. Lucid is guiding to produce, not deliver, 10,000 to 14,000 vehicles. I put 12,000 here. And Tesla guided at the end of 2013 to produce 35,000 vehicles in 2014. So again, right in the middle there. I mean, Tesla is closer to Rivian, but you can see that. Revenue. Rivian had $1.65 billion in revenue in 2022. Lucid had only $608 million in revenue in 2022. And Tesla had $2 billion in revenue in 2013. So Tesla outperformed in terms of revenue. Cost of goods sold, Lucid burned in costs for these vehicles that they sold nearly $5 billion for a gross profit of negative $3 billion. Lucid spent 1.6 billion for a gross profit of negative over $1 billion loss. Tesla had a gross profit of $456 million. Tesla massively outperformed. Tesla's numbers for 2013 massively outperformed both Rivian and Lucid. There's an interesting question here between Rivian and Lucid. While Rivian delivered more cars, is guiding for more cars, had double the revenue, Rivian's costs are off the charts. This is nuts how much they're spending. Their gross profit is massively negative. Operating expenditures, Rivian burned 3.7 billion, Lucid burned 1.6 billion, and Tesla only burned 500 million. So operating profit or operating loss, Lucid lost nearly $7 billion. Lucid lost $2.6 billion, and Tesla lost 61 million in operating profit. When you get down to net profit, roughly similar numbers. Rivian lost 6.7 billion, Lucid lost 1.3 billion, and Tesla lost 74 million. So Tesla was basically a break-even company in net at the end of 2013. Free cash flow. Rivian burning cash like crazy, $6.4 billion burnt. Lucid burned 3.3 billion, Tesla burned 6 million. So Tesla was doing okay. So this comparison, when people say I'm being unfairly critical of Lucid, it's not fair to compare Lucid at the present day to Tesla at the present day. I'm not comparing Lucid to Tesla at the present day. I'm looking, let's go back to when their market caps, Rivian and Lucid today, when I last checked, had market caps about 15.6 billion, and Tesla at the end of 2013, when these numbers apply, had an $18.5 billion market cap. So much better comparison. A really critical distinction here is Rivian has $12 billion in cash on hand at the end of the year. Lucid has about $4 billion in cash on hand at the end of the year, and Tesla only had $849 million in cash at the end of the year. Now, with the free cash flow, Tesla's cash was gonna last forever. They decided to burn a lot of money building the Model 3 line and everything, but Tesla was in a much better financial position at that point, even though they had a lot less cash in the bank. It looks like with the cash burn that Rivian's burning a lot more cash than Lucid, that's true, but Lucid's cash is gonna last it about a year at the current burn rate, and their burn rate is probably rising. Rivian should last about 2 years on their cash burn rate, and I think they're getting a better handle on their cash burn. If they can get their production up and their deliveries up, they're in much better shape. And by the way, I got these backwards, but Rivian has over 100,000 units in reservations. Lucid only has 28,000. Lucid's reservations fell. They report their reservations. They've been reporting 34,000 reservations. They delivered 4,300 vehicles, but the reservations for the year, they only delivered like 2,000 vehicles in the quarter, and they dropped 6,000 reservations when in Q4 they only delivered about 2,000 vehicles. That's not a good sign. Another detail here that I thought was interesting when I'm looking at Rivian and Lucid in particular, Rivian has $274 million on its balance sheet as inventory. Lucid has $834 million on its balance sheet as inventory. Rivian has 4,000 unsold vehicles in its inventory. I assume that's what that means. Lucid failed to deliver 2,800 cars. So what it works out to is Lucid's inventory per unused vehicle is nearly $300,000, where Rivian's is $68,000. Rivian's number is about what they sell their vehicles for. How does Lucid get their inventory to $300,000 a car when they're trying to sell their cars for $150,000 and people won't buy them? There's again, the numbers with Lucid are just hokey. There's something just wrong with the way they're doing their numbers. So I just think when you look at this, you can see there's not much prospect for Lucid to turn around their revenue numbers because they're not expecting to produce that many more vehicles next year, and they're not even forecasting how many they're going to deliver. So their revenue is unlikely to top a billion, right? Where Rivian is trying to double deliveries, more than double deliveries, so their revenue line should go up. So if they can get their costs under control, if they can get their OpEx under control, their cash burn should come down somewhat. And maybe they can stretch this $12 billion for 3 years instead of 2. Lucid, you can't stretch the cash. I don't see a way they're going to stretch the cash. I just don't see a promising outlook for Lucid going forward. I'm not saying Rivian's going to get there. I think I can see a path to profitability for Rivian, which is they avoid losing too much money for the next 2 or 3 years, and they get their next factory built to build their next generation vehicle, which is going to be lower cost, reach a larger market, and get your manufacturing methods down, simplify things so you can make things profitably instead of losing money on every car. So I'm not saying they're going to make it, but Rivian has some path to profitability. I don't see where Rivian has some path to profitability. I don't see where Lucid has a path to profitability. Tesla was on the edge of profitable at the end of 2013. So for all the whiners out there from Lucid who are saying I'm not being fair to Lucid by comparing them to Tesla today, I never did. But if you're going to insist on comparing Lucid to Tesla at some point in time, how about when their market caps are roughly even, when Tesla's delivering more cars than Lucid by far? Tesla delivered about 5 times as many cars at the end of 2013, 4 to 5 times as many cars as Lucid delivered in 2022. Right? Tesla's guidance is bigger. Tesla's revenue numbers higher. Tesla's got positive gross profit versus negative gross profit. The problem that Rivian and Lucid both have is they're spending too much money. There's this thing with startups that changed from when Tesla was a startup to today, where startups are just burning cash. And if you listen to the All In Pod, they've talked about how startups are burning cash and burning cash and burning cash. For some reason, these guys are burning cash and they can't figure out, hey, maybe we need to get rid of some suits. Let's just focus on making good cars. Rivian's problem in part is their vehicle is just super complex. That's also a problem with Lucid, but that's Rivian's main problem. Their vehicle is super complex. They're having trouble producing it at scale without losing too much money. So can they turn this around and produce this vehicle at scale? They got the R1T, they got the R1S, they got delivery vans. Can they produce their vehicles at scale to the point where they're at least not losing too much money so their cash pile survives until this next generation vehicle comes along? And they're innovating, like adopting lithium iron phosphate battery cells instead of nickel-based cells, which should save them some money. They're finding ways to get there. So I think there's hope for Rivian to get there. I don't see a way out of this hole for Lucid. I mean, the Saudis are going to keep giving them checks, it seems like. But long term, how does this company ever make money? They've got their Project Gravity coming online, which is a luxury SUV that's gonna be super expensive that no one can afford, so they can't scale there. Somewhere down the road, and the Gravity is not coming till 2025, no matter what they're saying, they're not expecting to actually deliver a Project Gravity till 2025, which is way more than a year after they've run out of money in 2024. And then you go forward and you say at some point they're gonna build a compact sedan or a compact SUV, but that's not even on the timetable. They're not even close to doing that. So where's their path to profitability? I don't see it. I just don't see where they go anywhere. So you can see now Tesla, arguably bit off almost more than they could chew with the Model 3, and that nearly blew the company up, but that was a few years later. And I think you just see, like for me, if I'm investing in Tesla because I see Tesla's already profitable and I see a path to massive increase in profitability in the future. With Rivian, I see hope. I don't see like where Rivian becomes a $1 trillion company. But could it become a $100 billion company? I don't think that's crazy. I think when you get through the wave of terror that's going to hit legacy auto and you wipe out a lot of the competition, there may be room for Rivian to be second place or third place in the vehicle market. And that could be a $100 billion market cap. I'm not saying it will be. I'm just saying I can see some potential for them to go up from 15.6 billion. 40 billion, 50 billion, something like that. They could become a significant player in the global car market because they make really cool EVs and they're ahead of most people on the curve of manufacturing EVs that are good, that people want to own. That's a big step. They have a product people want to buy. Lucid has a problem that they can't even sell the ones they're making. Rivian doesn't have a problem getting their vehicles to customers. Customers want them. People aren't turning down their reservations for Rivian. So Lucid's at a $15.6 billion market cap, company that's losing $1.3 billion a year, has $4 billion in cash on hand that's going to be gone soon. No path to profitability. I don't see how you have any valuation without a path to profitability, and I don't see a path to profitability. Their only reason they're surviving is because the Saudis keep dumping money into this company. And as we all know, Tesla has a bright future. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Check out the t-shirts at elonbits.com. Tesla Air t-shirt, the stainless steel water bottles. Please support me on the Locals platform, on Patreon, or as a YouTube channel member. Check out my other videos. Like this video, share, and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching.